Thank you, and good morning. I hope you can hear me. I think having Dola was fantastic at the beginning because I think having a person like that kind of humbles you down. And I just love that feeling of getting your high expectation and high hope coming down and trying to sort out. Anyway, so I'll start with a time that we all passed through. It's basically the beginning of the lockdown and the pandemic when we all started. And I'm not new to the crisis. I'm a pediatric cancer survivor. It's coming back again. So I went through a second dose of radiation. Uh, I've been in war zone. I survived Nepal earthquake. But something was different with this pandemic. I don't know what it was. But when it started and we go into the lockdown, I started to running. I'm not a very physically active person, but I suddenly start running across all over Dhaka. And I did a series particularly on that particular pictures that I used to take on the empty Dhaka in the beginning of the lockdown. So around the Parliament House and everywhere. And I kept on running. I kept on taking pictures. And I also started making friends, unusual friends. The police who were guard the streets and everything. Then I stopped. I stopped when I realized that I actually was running out of fear. I'm not an afraid person. I never faced fear before. But this thing made me nervous for many different reasons. So I was actually really, really running out from my fears. And I was worried. I was worried when I heard one of my students suicided. The other one who had my class on Saturday of international business. And I specifically remember now that he told, I don't want to have these online classes anymore. I want to go back. On Thursday, he was affected. And on Friday evening, he passed away. I was worried of my two teenager kids. And I was worried about my own life when it all went to Zoom. The virtual world is brutal. Many of you have faced this. Really, really brutal. It just knocked me off like more than anything else. However, I also understood that I was worried. And worrying is more like the rocking chair. You know what? It does a lot of things, but it doesn't take you anywhere. And I realized it after some time that it's not going to help me. So what I tried to do after that, I tried to understand what's happening. Because all my job at the Edward M. Kennedy Center at the University of Liberal Arts, me being father of two teenager kids, makes me work with a group of people that is mostly affected by this pandemic. If you look into the Units of Statistics that was published probably a week back, that the suicidal rate was highest among 10 to 19-year-olds children. And I've got two teenager kids. One is 16 and one is 14 and a half. And I was reading that report and I was thinking, so 10 to 19-year-old kids all over the world are committing suicides at a highest rate, more than ever before in the history. This is something that we have to understand, and we need to really understand. And I kept on then reaching out to people all over the Bangladesh, and I kept on talking to people in absolute north, absolute south. I arranged a web meeting. And then from running, my passion turned into understanding what's going on in their life, what skill sets they require, that they will value their life in a way that makes sense for them. And at that point of time, I also got back-to-back 3 research opportunities with Government of Bangladesh and A2I and others, and I led those research. So one was on future skills, the impact of A2I, artificial intelligence. The second was on post-COVID-19 jobs and skills. So I did the first research on July last year on behalf of the government of Bangladesh on how many jobs are we thinking of losing and how many new jobs are we going to create. And the numbers were horrific. It didn't help me to really kind of manage my tension or my depression, but it helped me to understand what's going on. And the last one that I'm doing, and which actually the main topic of today's presentation of mine, is basically the whole skill gap. So where are we lagging behind? Where are our youths are lagging behind? And what's going wrong with them? And what we found out that the world of work is changing. It's the biggest thing that I've understood from this kind of last 6, 7 months, a year research of mine. There's going to be nothing normal in the new normal. And we have to accept that. The whole emergence of Generation X and the way they think. I've got 2 Generation X at home. And for the first time in the last 5 years, I've been kind of during the lockdown, I was watching them closely. And I was thinking, oh my God, I don't know them. I don't know them. My initial reaction was very wrong. I'll tell you very honestly. I thought that they're the most self-centered, my 2 children. most self-centered, most selfish people in the world, suddenly. But then I thought that I really need to understand. So I really researched a lot of things. And then we found out that there are certain changes that we'll not be able to kind of unchange or undone. It's not going to go back. The virtual world's not going to go back. The flexi time is not going to go back. You know, the way people are leaving jobs, attrition rate, because you will have more part-time workers than full-time workers. This generation, Generation X, that we are leading now, are actually more focused on work-life balance, and they're not going to have a long-term career with anyone. They're not going to be like us, that I'm going to work for a certain organization for 10 years, 20 years. No. They're going to work for 6 months, leave, and then move back. It's the wages that will determine their productivity, not the other way around. They'll be more focused on work-life balance. They'll be kind of demanding expanded role from the society as well as an employer. You have dehumanization of employees, and kind of you have to separate the critical skills and critical roles, because they don't want to do many things. They want to do specific things. So that means that it will significantly change the work, the workplace, and the workforce. And we who are from Generation X and millennials are leading at this point of time, probably need to get ready of the biggest challenge of our time. And it's not going to be on gender diversity. It's not going to be others. It is going to be the generation diversity. In an office, when you have a Generation X and a Generation Z working together, it's altogether a different ballgame. And as a leader, I think my guess is that the biggest challenge that we'll face in our lifetime, till they become the leaders actually, because their the expectation from work is very different. So that brings to my second part of the research. So I started looking deep into, so what does it mean for the youth in Bangladesh when we already have almost 62.2 million people in kind of this demographic dividend part. There are like another 30 million youth between the ages of 18 to 25. And there's 1.8 to 2 million that are joining every year kind of in the workforce. And there's not enough job. And this in the context of a new reality. In the one hand, we are having all these people coming up in the workforce. On the other hand, at this point of time, we have 600,000 expatriate managers in the mid-level managerial position. And it costs us $10 billion as a country per year. Nothing wrong, because it's needed, the business is needed. And another 1.65 billion in tax rebate that they get. So it is a competitive market, and we are not being able to produce competitive graduates. And that's where I think the government wanted me to look at. So what went wrong? And so I'll not get into the details of that, but so my broader research framework was to really look into the McKinsey 7S framework and see where is it going wrong, which part are we lacking, and how we are lacking. Now, if you look into this whole game, and if you look into the kind of the general overall requirements, there's a global requirement where people are asking for many different things, and I will not get into the details. But when I talk to 56 CEOs and almost 100 mid-level managers, both local and expatriates, this is what they're looking for when they're hiring for Bangladesh at the managerial position. They're looking for your learning agility. Are you willing to learn? Your influence. Are you being able to influence people? Because leadership is all about influence. Do you have the resilience? Or you break down, you crack down on crisis, or you can take pressure? Do you think systematically? Communication in all ways? And then, do you understand your strength and weakness? So with that 1 minute, I have 1 minute left. The biggest thing that was there was basically they're looking at adventurousness, cultural sensitivity, curiosity, flexibility, and open-mindedness. That's where we are lagging behind, and that's how we are breaking up. And with that, they actually hold together, put in a kind of a summary different skill when they say thinking and acting systematically, resilience, communication, influence, and learning agility. But also look into just, I will show you one point only probably. If you look into the technical side of it, and if you look into the ranking, in business we're ranking like 47 out of 60 countries, and in technology and in data, we are ranking 57. So we're lacking both in the technical skills as well as in the soft skills. And with that, that's where it's going wrong for us. There's a delink between industry and academia. And if you just see the perception, that's flawed. And as an organization, we are not actually developing the youth the way we should have been developing. And the biggest advice and the suggestion that I got out of it is all skill development initiatives should start at the school level, because that's where it starts. And that's where we are missing out. The teachers doesn't know the future of career. They're not being able to create aspirations. And you cannot deny the role of an individual, that how do you take care of yourself as an individual? How do you build up the skills? Every time I deal with the students, the biggest problem that I see that they are not flexible. And they're not really, really thinking about digital skills and the creativity and innovations. So my last part would be for the youth. And that's my last statement, basically. So every time we get into a crisis, in my early childhood, so I say that I'm a cancer survivor, right? So, and I used to go to my grandmother, and I used to go to my mother, and I asked her, what should I do? And they always used to say, do the right thing. Just do the right thing. When there is a crisis, do the right thing. They never explain me what the right thing means. Now, when this time my students start coming up, trying to commit suicide, I saved 3 late at night. They're trying to commit suicide, and they asked, what do we do? I said, do the right thing. They said, what's the right thing? And I told 3 things. At this point of time in crisis, make sure that you have the highest level of integrity. Integrity is always important, but at this point of time, as a youth, you must take integrity as number 1. Make sure that you're mindful. Whatever you're taking, whatever decisions that you're making, you're doing it at that moment, thinking about at that moment. Please have people at the center of your decision. You must understand that your decision actually affects people, and whatever you do it with a proper purpose. You must know the answer to the question why. Why am I doing this? Why am I here today? Why am I late? And that's probably going to take care of the initial phase of the crisis. Then you move on, building the skills and getting it developed. Because unless you're a sustainable human being, you cannot build a sustainable organization. And unless you have a sustainable organization, you cannot build a sustainable nation. As simple as that. So my end goal is to love yourself endlessly. Thank you very much.